All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of YSBH, the You Should Be Here, Where Are They Now podcast, where we interview former WorldVentures reps who participated at some level in WorldVentures and have gone on to do some really cool things. And today we have somebody that you may or may not have heard about. He did some cool things in WorldVentures, but since then has done some things that are, dare I say, remarkable. And I would say that I am not surprised, but it's really cool to see what you've gone on to do because you've always just had that drive and that focus. So, Michael Hunter, welcome to episode 11. Thanks for being on, man.
Brian, Brian, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
When did we first meet? When did we first meet? Do you remember?
Oh man. I believe it was you and Sarah and Zoe that were at my very first introduction to World Ventures back in 2018. It had to have been like
Had to be earlier than
maybe
that, right? When did you first get
shoot.
started? Do you
Oh
remember?
shoot. 2008, I meant to say.
2008.
2008.
Dang,
Yes. Yeah, that's a
that's
big
wild.
difference. 2018 to 2008. Back in 2008, like June of 2008. That summer was when I jumped on board, and yeah, I saw you and Sarah and Zoe and David just being young hungry entrepreneurs, and wanted to play a part in it.
You were what? You were 18 at the time, 19?
Yep, 18.
Straight out of high
Yeah.
school?
It was actually the summer between my high school, it's the summer between my freshman year of college and my sophomore year of college. And I was back home for the summer. And the previous summer, between my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, I had experience in direct sales with Cutco kitchen knives.
That's
And
right.
I'm sitting there like slanging Cutco kitchen knives. And I believed in the product because I used them every single night at dinner. But then that following summer, my friend Casey, who was in Cutco, went to Northern Colorado, came
Ah,
across World Ventures, and he hosted his first travel party and knew that I was crushing it at Cutco. So he invited me out. And I was like, heck yeah, travel. Who doesn't love to travel? And I had the pleasure of growing up doing a lot of traveling. And it was just kind of that same type of, taste of entrepreneurship, selling a product that I thought, who wouldn't want uh, a little bit of these dream trips. And so it was just really easy to rally behind. And at my first presentation, signed up, and I just knew that at that time, like that first night at that travel party, I had the awareness that even if I didn't make a dollar, just the presentation skills, just being in like the energy around other people who were hungry, had a bigger vision for themselves, I would build skill sets that would be valuable for the rest of my life. And so it was really just like a no lose proposition that's sitting there. It's like I'm going to learn how to effectively communicate. I'm going to learn how to network. I'm going to run with other young, hungry entrepreneurs and build my network. And so that was
yeah,
really kind of that culmination of that first time that we met, and kind of some thoughts that were going through my head at that time.
for sure. Why do you think, because both you and I, especially at that time, talked to a lot of other young people, rat packers, as somebody in the company called them. Why do you think you came into it with that awareness, like whether I make money or not, this is going to be good for me? Because so many people didn't. Why were you different?
I think it was because of my initial experience with direct sales. And that summer previously, I had a part-time job, 15 hours a week, working at this catering company that my parents' friends owned, working, making $8 an hour. And I was
Mhm.
also in a commission-only sales role, working 15 hours. And at the catering company, I was making like 170 bucks a week or whatever it came out to be. And in my direct sales role, I was making $1,000 a week as a 17-year-old kid.
Dang.
And so I just had that taste of I want to have control over my destiny. And I saw the value of developing the sales skill set, but it was one to one. And in World Ventures specifically, I saw like, oh, this is going to put me in front of a room so I can learn how to communicate a sales message one to many. And
Mm,
for me, I just knew after that first summer of the taste of entrepreneurship that I wanted to be an entrepreneur at someday. And this was an opportunity to do it where I didn't have to create my own product. I didn't have to go out there and figure out how to build a website or do all the technical, hard, difficult, challenging things, the legal entities and all this stuff. I was 18 years old, so I
Yeah.
could get behind a product that I liked, that was fun to talk about, and I could just build the skill set. And so I think a lot of it was the experiences the summer prior, and then also just kind of my natural inclination to like want to carve my own path and play the long game a little bit.
And that you did. And that you did. I'm excited to talk about what you're up to now, the big names that you've worked with and done things for. We'll talk about that. But it's just been really cool to see your journey, and it's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is to interview people like yourself. Like you were one of those people that I had in mind early on. It's like I would want to bring a guy like that on for real, for real. So we'll get to that here shortly. I ask the question just for context for the audience of so many people that are listening to this that were in World Ventures for so many years or even a short period of time. Just for context, whose team were you on, and what was the highest rank that you achieved in World Ventures, if you recall?
Oh man. Um, I believe I think I was on David's team, Zoe's team, and then I think the highest rank I ever achieved was like 30 by 30. I
Hmm.
forget what that was called, but there was such a big disparity between 30 by 30 and director 90 by 90. So
Back
like I
then,
never
yes.
cracked, yeah, I never cracked director, but yeah, so had some initial success, but ultimately it was the biggest impact World Ventures had on my life was definitely how Marcus Etta coined it. It's like, hey, we're a personal development company, kind of masquerading or disguised as a travel company,
Yeah, yeah.
and so yeah, even though I didn't have like the massive financial success in World Ventures like some other people did, it was a deeply profound season of my life.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I love that you give credit to that. I think so many of us feel that way. Um, and I think the facts and the stories speak for themselves for all these people that have gone on to do some really cool things. And World Venture was kind of like the foundation for that, in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. Um, for you, tell me a little bit about, because you know, I thought, from my perspective, and we did a lot of travel parties at your dad's house with that big old projector that we used to have. I don't know if you remember that, but I have good memories there. I have good memories down in the basement of your dad's house of doing all those presentations. And man, you were just always on point, always inviting people, always, showing up, always just doing the right things. Um, and I think the culture, and I've talked about this a little bit on the past in the podcast, but there was like, well, World Ventures is the best thing out there. And we definitely had a culture of like, this is the deal, which I think anything that you're gonna believe in and go all in on, you have to have that belief. What for you when you transition from World Ventures to doing the next thing? I would imagine that that was not easy to step away from, or maybe it was. You can tell me. What gave you the guts to go do the next thing? Or what was that transition like for you to go from Moral Ventures to the next thing? And then we'll talk more about what led to you doing what you do today.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it was me, being a part of the Rat Pack, but then being the kind of the satellite out in Arizona on my own, and then putting a lot of effort in, but always I feel like it was always like feast and famine. They had like
Yeah.
really really good months, and then the 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 attrition would kick in, and so it was really like it was a tough decision because I was all in, and um going into my senior year of college, it was uh 2010, and it's the aftermath of 2008, and all my friends are graduating ahead of me, aren't getting jobs, and ultimately I had to start shifting gears to like make sure that I didn't have to move back home with mom and dad after college because like well, it wouldn't have been the end all be all, but it definitely was not the ideal scenario. And at that time, I was using social media as a tool to grow my World Ventures business, and Facebook opened up their platform for businesses. And
Mm,
so I realized I had this skill set that I've been using and developing over the past 7 years, And now all these businesses are coming onto social media and trying to use it and using it incorrectly. And I realized I had a skill set that was valuable in the marketplace. And so I just saw that as an easy next step to start a social media marketing company at that time and start serving small businesses and making extra cash. And so that's how I got started, uh, really making that transition from, being a rep within a company, and bringing a lot of that entrepreneurial spirit and fire and drive into actually starting my own company.
Yeah. And that you did. And that you did. And I respect you for having the guts and the courage to say, "Hey, here's what I'm going to spend some time doing," because I can't imagine that was easy to do. I know you love the company. You were good at what you did. So many times, I mean, I saw so many people, so many skilled, talented, dedicated people that just for whatever reason weren't able to push past to get to the next rank that they needed to like sustain financially. And why is that? I I don't know, but for so many people, it led them to say, hey, there's this thing that I'm good at. There's this thing that I want to do. I'm going to go take a shot on this thing. And even for those that maybe the thing after that or the thing after that didn't work, it led them to crushing what they're doing now. So my hat's off to you for real, man. I know you had your challenges in Arizona with for different reasons that we won't talk about on the podcast. But I just want to say, like, seriously, hats off to you for making that leap. So
Thanks,
tell
man.
me about that. Your senior year in college, you decide to start this company. What did that look like?
Yeah, so it looked like me rallying a couple of my buddies and who one was a marketing major and one was a finance major, and it's like, hey, like I've got this idea. Do you guys want to do this thing with me? Because I'd never really done a business by myself before. I started a couple of side hustles in college. This is back before Uber was a thing and like the gig economy was, actually had a label. We kind of created our own gig economy, just moving heavy stuff on the weekends off of Craigslist ads and earning cash on the weekends. But really, I'd never started a business before, and so it was like finding a couple strategic people to really help carry some of that initial weight of starting something, and it was flying by the seat of our pants. Like most things, you don't really know how hard it is until you actually start doing it. And if you knew how hard it was when you started, you wouldn't have actually ever started.
Isn't that a thing?
And yeah, and to me, I had this kind of like rose-colored glasses perspective of like the business world. You go to business school and you get a degree, and of course, you know how to run a business. And every single business owner definitely knows how to generate leads and is following up with their customers and their prospects. And they have a database of everyone that's been through their business. And like, working with companies, I just thought that they just didn't know this social media thing, and quickly found out that most business owners have no idea what they're doing, have no idea what marketing strategies work or don't work. And so, where I thought I would just be able to plug in one piece of the equation into what business owners were already doing, it ended up growing into something much more. Where like some businesses didn't even have websites back in the day. They didn't have email lists of their customers. If they needed to generate revenue next month, they didn't have a lever to pull. And so
Wow.
we started with social media marketing services, but quickly started building out websites and marketing automation and funnels. And then I niched down into authors, speakers, coaches, thought leaders, and personal brands, and specifically driving results for those types of businesses. Because going back to that summer between my senior year of high school and freshman year of college, when I had that first taste of sales and entrepreneurship, that was also my first taste of personal development. I went to my first sales leadership conference that I qualified for, and I saw public speakers, I saw motivational speakers. I heard that public speaking was the highest paid profession.
Mm.
I got introduced to Tony Robbins. And at that point, I thought Anthony Robbins and Tony Robbins were two different people, but then I found out that they're the same person.
That's funny.
And so I saw the impact that you could have. I heard that you can make a lot of money doing it. And like, I'm not a money motivated type of person, but if you're going to make an impact and also make some money, like why not?
Hmm.
And then I also heard most people would rather keel over than actually public speak. And it's like, oh, this is a place where I can make a lot of money. I can make a huge impact, and most people aren't willing to do it. So whether it takes me 5 months, 5 years, or 50 years, I want to crack this code and figure out how to do this. And this is also part of that mindset that I had, that when I was introduced to World Ventures, it was like an easy thing that already fit into the vision of my life of like cracking that public speaking code and like getting used to speaking in front of audiences. And again, aligning with the vision and the mission of World Ventures and the product and like all these different things I was deeply passionate about. And worst case scenario, even if I didn't make a dollar, I knew that it would help me become a better version of myself for whatever was next. And so these are just a couple layers of the story of how and why I started a marketing company, because I thought like, okay, well, if I want to do what Tony's doing someday, if I want to be a public speaker or do something like what he's doing, what are the skill sets I need to learn? I kind of already had the sales thing locked in, was kind of comfortable presenting in front of an audience just from doing hundreds of World Ventures presentations.
Yeah.
Like I need to crack the code on this marketing thing. So I want to get paid to learn marketing, and I'm going to get paid to learn to do marketing for authors, speakers, coaches, thought leaders. So one day I can shift that gear and do it for myself. And so that was just like a natural evolution of really like the last 15 years of my entrepreneurship career. First, starting making that transition, jumping into entrepreneurship, starting my marketing company, working with anyone and everyone that was willing to pay me, but then slowly transitioning down into a niche market that I could specialize, start charging more money, getting results, and start working with some of the biggest names in the industry.
Yeah. And that you did. And that you did. We pause this episode to remind you that this podcast is sponsored by the Be Connected newsletter. If you're a parent who wants to make the most of your time with your kids while they're still young, while also setting them up for a bright future, then subscribe to the Be Connected newsletter so that you can be connected with the most relevant ideas, products, and experiences for your family. That's beconnected.co, BCONNECTD.co. Subscribe for free today and get access to candid reviews on the things that you never knew that you needed for your family. Now back to the show. Before we get there, I mean, you covered a lot just in a pretty short period of time. Uh, just some questions that popped through my mind is, what was the hardest part of starting that whole process? I'm impressed by like how your vision of what you wanted to do ultimately, and like uh, David came out with a book not long ago called like Your Next Five Moves, right? Like it just looked like you have your moves planned out and then you've executed that. Not that there wasn't ups and downs, I'm sure, but um, what was the hard? You knew where you want to go. What was the hardest part of getting that idea to create any kind of momentum and get it off the ground to be on that trajectory?
Um, yeah, I mean, so much of it is looking back and seeing like how many mistakes I made and
Yeah.
how I suffered unnecessarily. I'm so grateful for my journey and I wouldn't change it. And my journey also provides me a lens to give people advice to like do something different.
Yeah.
A lot of it, especially even in my experience with World Ventures, like so much of it was just the market and the aftermath of '08. Like people just weren't spending money. People were financially ruined. People were not taking vacations. And so I think my biggest takeaway is like realizing when it's you, when it's actually like your own um, lack of skill and talent, and when it's literally just the market conditions aren't blowing in your favor. Like the
Yeah.
winds aren't blowing in your favor. You're
That's
swimming
good.
upstream in a river. And that was something that took me a long time to realize because I felt like I was doing all of the right motions inside World Ventures to like the nth degree. I can't tell you how many people I got in front of that presentation and spoke their presentation to. And so much of it was just like audience market mismatch, wrong
Hmm.
time, right message, wrong time. Um, and so when it came to the social media world, again, it was like the forefront of the industry. Like I was a pioneer in the industry where when I first started my social media marketing company, it was literally like weeks after Facebook opened up their platform. And everyone's like, oh, social media is a fad. This doesn't work. Look at all these silly businesses using social media. I was still swimming upstream. And so uh, there's nothing wrong with being early. There's nothing wrong with swimming upstream. It's just being aware of it so that you can make the appropriate moves and have the appropriate mindset so that you're not like second guessing yourself all the time and it doesn't erode your confidence. Like, you know, you're going into this season of life taking some arrows in the back and you're positioning yourself with a much more long-term mindset, a long-term approach, understanding the dynamics that you're working with and working against.
Mm, that's good. You were early. You were early. And social media, like marketing, was frowned upon within network marketing at that time, at least from my pulse, for sure within World Ventures. Like, hey, if you're not doing travel parties and two-on-ones, like, and you expect to get customers any other ways, like, you're an idiot. And then flash forward 10, 15 years later, it's like some of the biggest names is like social media, just like doing their thing all on social media. So I laugh about that a little bit. And so yeah, you were there in the beginning, man. What was the first company that started that gained some traction?
So like within my marketing company, like
Yeah,
what gained traction there?
because I know like you created like Spiffy and now you're out speaking and doing all these things. Like what were you able to create and who were you able to create it for? Talk about some of the highlights there.
Yeah, yeah. So just kind of going off of what I mentioned before, just my at the beginning of my marketing career, it was just like who is willing to pay me to do whatever. I remember I got my first website client. I just wanted to learn how to build a website, and instead of me just figuring it out on my own, I just knew if someone paid me, it would be that extra incentive to have a deadline to do it and commit myself to it. Because I wanted to do it anyways, but this like really put my feet under the fire. So I built my first website for $200 and figured it out. And at the end of that process, I was like, I'm never ever doing that again for $200. So I'm like, I'm gonna triple my price. And it's like $600. And at the end of that at the end of that project, it's like I'm never ever doing that for $600 ever again. And so just building the skill set, getting more confident in my ability to sell the service was really the start. But then niching down into author, speakers, coaches, thought leaders, I started working my way up the ranks in that industry, working with bigger and bigger names.
How'd you get in the
And
door? How'd you start there? Like, because you've started a $200 website. How do you even get in the door of talking to somebody that's like a speaker and an author and be like, hey, I can help you? Like, what does that look like?
yeah, so part of it was just word of mouth. Part of it was networking a lot. So that's one amazing thing about World Ventures. And that forced me to get out into my local community. I didn't know anyone when I came out here to Arizona, but for 3 or 4 years, all throughout college, I was going to two, three, four networking events a week, meeting
Wow.
people. And so I
Wow.
already had a network that was established, a professional network that was established from World Ventures, where I could lean on people, even if they never joined my team at World Ventures. They're acquaintances I saw repeatedly at all these different events where I could, render services for them, ask them, hey, who do you know? And so it was really the power of network marketing that allowed me to build the initial foundation of my clientele really quickly. So that was one piece of it, and another piece of it was just attending events that the audience was authors, speakers, coaches, thought leaders, and networking, providing value, and then naturally those people becoming clients.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. Um, so who are, I don't know if you can name names, but who are like some of the people that you ended up doing work for? If you can talk about it.
Yeah, so it's kind of this story arc of just like working with anyone that's willing to pay me, and then specializing it down into the niche author, speakers, coaches, thought leaders, and then specializing even further down into author, speakers, coaches, thought leaders that were using a particular software back then, where
Oh,
that was like a differentiator. It's called Infusionsoft.
okay.
Um, it's called Keep now, but they recently got acquired again. But the who's who were on Infusionsoft, and it was
Okay.
expensive. And so, if you were an author, speaker, coach, thought leader on Infusionsoft, that meant that you could afford our services. And so,
Yeah.
long story short, we just worked with bigger clients, and we started working with names like Jim Quick, Harvey McKay, people
Huh.
that were on stage at Brendan Burchard's events, and word trickled up to Brendan that we were getting results for all of his friends and his community, people that were speaking from his stage. And he was like, why don't you guys come and do this for me? I need help on the marketing front.
Really?
And so between 2015 to 2017, my business partner Jeremy and I, technically Brendan was a client of ours, but we came on as like an external CMO role to build out his first marketing team while he
Dang.
stepped away from his business to write the book High Performance Habits. And so literally from helping people make their first dollar online all the way up to running an 8-figure thought leader influencer business. We've just seen it all.
That is cool. It's funny. I'm literally sitting here on my desk. I print out one of his high performance productivity pages every single day. I have them for like the last 6 years. Like I have 365 days, well, most years, um, that I write them out every single day. So I'm very familiar with Brendan Burchard, and
That's awesome.
he's a name, man. So the fact you were able to start a $200 website, network, do bigger jobs, continue on that path, and eventually have somebody like that say, "Hey, I want you to take over this." And he's a guy who knows a thing or two about marketing. So for him to say, "Yeah, take this on for me in that space," dude, how did that feel?
I mean, it was a little intimidating, especially when our first project was his Oprah course launch. So like he literally hired us on and he's like, "Hey guys, like I got this Oprah thing. I don't have time to do any of it. That's kind of why I'm hiring you. So like here's like basically here's the keys to the Ferrari. Like let's see what you can do with it." And so we ended up crushing that promotion. It was the number one course ever sold on Oprah.com. Obviously it's a big platform and whatnot, but
Yeah.
we just like tripled any other sale of course that was ever on that. And so he was like, "All right, you got the gig." From there. We didn't even know it
Yeah.
was like an audition, but it was kind of this audition. Yeah, and so like through Brendan, like I'll forever be grateful. There were just so many opportunities that would have never come our way, just from opportunities that were coming to him that we got to work on. So we
Yeah.
did like Larry King's course on communications, like the whole product launch behind that. Got to meet Larry King, be on set with him. And so, yeah, just
Jeez.
like really cool, like life experiences that like I'll remember forever that, are really amazing. Um, but yeah, it was something where, um, in retrospect, it was an opportunity of a lifetime and we were uniquely qualified to do it. You could put in the reps. Like it was it while it was um yeah, I mean when you put in the reps and you have the confidence and you know that you're getting results for people, like those opportunities, they just out of reverence for who they are and the impact they're having, like they should make you a little bit nervous, but like also there
Yeah.
was like a deep level of confidence that like we were the weapons in the industry. Like we were the people that got the call when people's backs were against the wall and we delivered time and time again. And so it was a very powerful experience that opened a lot of doors during that time period and after.
Yeah. Yeah. So much good stuff there. And one of the reasons that I really enjoy having these conversations is because there's other people out there right now. Maybe they're in network marketing. Maybe they've stepped away for a number of years and they went back to their job and they're like, I want to do something. I want to do something. And so it's inspiring to hear that story and some of the things that you did to be able to, get the results that you got. I have a friend here in Idaho. One of the things that you talked about was you went to where the people were, which I think is such an maybe underrated strategy. Like I have a friend here, he bought a Porsche when he couldn't afford it, so he could be a part of a car club, and then next he bought a Ferrari so he could be a part of the car club. But that's where his customers were for what he does for a business, and I was like, that's just so smart. Like go where the people are that you want to be around, that you want to talk to. And so when you talked about that, it reminded me of that. So much gold in what you're in your journey for people that are listening in. They're like, okay, maybe I can take a shot. Maybe I don't know everything right now, but I can start with a $200 website or a $200 like first gig, first deal, first client for whatever it is, and might
Yeah.
work my way up. So I love your story, man.
Thanks.
What's taking up most of your time now? What are you excited about? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the ways that we got the opportunity and got on Brendan's radar and Jim Quick's radar and others too was that we were custom coding checkout processes, and building out one-click upsells and downsells. Like we've all been through a checkout experience where you buy something, and it's like, hey, add this to your order, just one click. So we were implementing that back in like 2013, 2014. We're building
Mm.
mobile optimized checkout processes at the very beginning of mobile commerce. Now it's
Mobile
like
optimized.
commonplace. Yeah,
Got it.
mobile
Okay.
optimized checkout experiences in 2013, 2014. And so we turned our agency services into a productized service. And then we took our productized service and turned it into a software product called Spiffy Checkouts. And so we're the number one checkout platform for people selling services and digital products. And we have a lot of household names that use our software to run all their checkout experiences, manage all their subscriptions and recurring revenue,
Dang.
and have better line of sight into their data. And so, so many, you mentioned something a few moments ago, just about like people kind of sitting on the sidelines, like waiting for that perfect idea. There would have been no chance that we would have ever come up with the idea to build spiffy checkouts unless our hands were in the trenches. And so,
Mm.
in order to like actually see the opportunity or recognize an opportunity that's worth pursuing, oftentimes you just have to get started by doing something that really doesn't scale. And I think that's one of the
Uh,
biggest misconceptions in the world is like the microwave mentality. Like we see everyone's highlight reel on social media and everyone's seemingly having this overnight success, and executing on these ideas. And we just get way into in our head about like really masterminding the perfect idea rather than just getting started and doing things that don't scale to find the opportunity to then build the thing that scales. And so that's really
Interesting.
my whole story was like we did agency services. Agency services don't scale, but we use that as a mechanism to see the opportunities, use all the software tools out there, network to all of the big players in the industry to then recognize where there's a gap to build a software tool. And now we're not starting from zero with an idea. We have network, we have track record, we have street cred, we have connections, we have promotional partners. And from day one with our software product, Spiffy, we were essentially profitable from, day one. I think it might have been like 30 or 45 days in, but
Yeah,
basically from day
basically.
one, like we were profitable because we had an idea, we were scrappy, we created a minimum viable product, and we already had customers to launch it to that were willing to pay for
Uh,
the problem that we were solving. So Spiffy is a main focus, has been a main focus for the past really 10 years, and it's just really come into the limelight in the last couple years. So again,
wow.
it's like the 10-year overnight success. And then I also run personalbrand.com. So we help authors, speakers, coaches, thought leaders just have a bigger impact by sharing, up leveling their online presence and getting really concise with their positioning and their messaging and laying a solid foundation to have a bigger impact and make a bigger income.
Mhm. Did you know at the time that that was it? Was that a specific strategy of yours when it came to like we're going to be an agency first and it's going to lead us to other opportunities, or was it one of those things where you like look back, connect the dots, and say this is why it worked?
I would say it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think this is where like also World Ventures thumbprint is on like everything that I do. Is World Ventures was really my first introduction to passive income and recurring revenue. And so I got into marketing services and project-based work and retainer work. And then I was using all these software tools and like paying for these software tools. And so I knew like at some point, I was like, I want to build the software tool for the recurring revenue aspect of it, the residuals, the passive income. And so very early on in my, I guess probably around 2013, I want to say 2013, I knew I wanted to get into software, and so I was rendering services, trying to figure out what that idea was. And so yeah, it's like uh, World Ventures and the passive income concept was that first idea where passive income was tangible without having to like get into real estate and have a lot of money to generate some passive income,
Hmm.
and and rendering services, using the tools, recognizing I want to get into software someday, but I don't know how to code software. And
Right.
so then finding the partner, a strategic partner, my business partner now, Jeremy, today, where I'm on the people side of the business, he's on the product side of the business, and just, really finding that combination of team to where 1 + 1 = 11. And that took a little while to figure out the idea, find the right team. And then same thing with personalbrand.com. I bought that domain name back in 2013. I saw the vision of where everything was going, and took me almost a decade to find the right team to like do that at a world-class level. So a lot of it's like having the vision of where things are going, and then being patient, and then also just knowing that this is what we do, like what we talk about a lot with our personal brand clients and in our workshops is that we codified building a thought leader business into 4 stages. And so
Hmm.
much, so often the strategies and the tactics and things that are spoon fed to us or forced down our throats through social media are actually stage 4 strategies. And you
Uh-huh.
can't implement stage 4 strategies at stage 1, 2, or 3. And so
Sequence matters, huh?
exactly. And so it's just a matter of really recognizing where you're at and then playing the long game. Like most of the people that have overnight success, it's not sustainable, and or it's like my story. It's like the 10-year overnight success story. So um, yeah, that's just a little bit uh, about that.
So that's really cool what you've created for real. That reminds me, I want to ask you some questions about partnerships because partnerships can be great. They can be messy. They can be unproductive. You mentioned that you and your partner are like 1 plus 1 equals 11. It reminds me, I was at church the other day and they were talking about being equally yoked specifically, but I forget the kind of horses they were. But basically, they could each carry 8,000 pounds individually. So they could do 16,000 total. But if they were yoked together as partners, they could do 22. There's no like real rhyme or reason around it, but that's what they could actually do. So I absolutely believe in there being the 1 plus 1 equals more than two when it comes to productivity. How did you find such a good partner? And then what? Tell me a little bit about because I know some people like I'm hesitant to get a partner. I don't know how to find a good partner. Do I actually need a partner? Talk to me a little bit about that because obviously you've had some good results come from that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had bad business partnerships and really good business partnerships, and so a lot of it is um, we could probably do a whole episode
Yeah,
just on this
you're
alone.
probably right.
But when I first started my marketing company, I started it with 2 partners, and like that didn't work out long term. And so much of it is getting started, um, being in motion, recognizing where you actually need help. It's oftentimes people's tendencies to like partner with people that are kind of like them, or partner with someone who just does things that you don't like to do, but
Got
you're
it.
actually quite good at. And so like there's this
Hmm.
overlap of just like of you want to have a little bit of skill overlap, but you also want to have quite a bit of area where you're each bringing something to the table that you can't hire for out of the gates. So Jeremy's actually the one that really helped me codify like my philosophy around this is, you never want to bring on an equity partner with something that you can hire for. So
Interesting.
that's different based off of what industry you're in, right? So, you wouldn't want to bring someone on as a partner just to like write copy for you or just to do social media for you. You can hire
Hmm.
someone to do that relatively inexpensively. But if
Man, that's
you
that's
know that,
such a good golden nugget right there. Keep going.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, no, no, and it's something where it really forces you to really think about what are the critical roles of bringing this vision to life, and then also our story with Spiffy Checkouts. Like we had this vision to create this independent platform, but we didn't start executing against that right away. One of my favorite Tony Robbins quotes is like, it's achieving your goals is never about a lack of resources. It's about a lack of resourcefulness, right?
Yeah, heck
And
yeah.
so we built version 1 of our product as an app for an existing ecosystem that allowed us to scale to $500,000 of revenue with zero marketing, just solving an existing problem in an existing marketplace for people that were looking for a solution and were willing to pay for a solution. So we didn't have to spend a bunch of money on marketing. We just had to create like a really simple product that solved a very specific pain point. Then we were able to hire our team and have them focus on building the thing that we really wanted to build. And so
Hmm.
I think oftentimes people have this grandiose vision of building the Ferrari as version 1 when the market only demands a skateboard. They just want to get the result a little bit faster. And you can start with the skateboard and then you can go to a moped and then you can go to an actual motorcycle, and then you can go to a car with 4 doors, and then you can just build it over time. But we think the market demands something much more sophisticated and polished than it actually does. So like we were selling Spiffy accounts and there wasn't even a place to log into the software. Like there was no login page, but we're
Jeez.
selling annual subscriptions and we are delivering the software via Gmail, right? Like we didn't even have a CRM. We weren't doing and nowadays a lot of those things are much more economical. Where back then, it was several $1,000s just to get some of those things set up. Where now you can do it for $20 a month, $100 a month. You can have quite a bit of software firepower. But yeah, anyways, the point being is that intimately know your market, and then don't overcomplicate it. Solve for something simple that's within your reach. Don't try to solve. Don't try to find the perfect idea. Find the idea you can execute on perfectly.
Dang. Is that an original Michael R. Hunter quote?
I think so. Yeah,
Because that was
it must
good.
be.
That was good, man. That was good. I love that analogy too. You don't necessarily need to deliver on the Ferrari. Start with a skateboard if that's what the market's if that the what the market's looking for. Man, people should have to pay for this podcast episode. All the stuff that you're throwing out here. I know you're going out doing, speaking gigs all over, and so I mean, like this is for those of you guys that don't know Michael Hunter and don't know what he does. You've gotten a taste and heard some of the names, but like what he's built is really cool, and what he's sharing here from my experience is like this is stuff that you can go take and put into action if you spend some time thinking about it and decide to go for it. So I love that about this conversation too. Um, on that same note, as far as like you talked about doing some things initially that are unscalable, but eventually you hired some people. What are some hiring tips? Like, how do you find good people if you do get to that point? I know in World Ventures we were kind of like, you don't want to be an employee, you don't want to have employees. Like we were all in on the, be your own independent rep type of a thing. But like, there's obviously value in finding good people and bringing on as employees. What does that look like? How do you find good people in that way?
Good people are hard to find. And what I've found is that oftentimes going back to what we're just talking about, the business idea is so sophisticated and complex that you need to like hire ninjas in order to run it, or you need to hire someone that is at your level in order to deliver. And that's really, really challenging. And we ran into that. This is where my personal story of why I'm so passionate about helping people crack the code of building their brand and building their personal brand, and the distinction between branding, and content marketing, because people conflate those three things. And it didn't matter what our website said or matter what our positioning statement was. Our brand in the marketplace was that we were the weapons, that we could get the job done, that when your back's against the wall, call Jeremy and Michael. And so it didn't matter what our pricing was. It didn't matter whether we're project basis or retainer or hybrid or what services we offered. Like people came to us with a preconceived notion that they could just throw any and every challenge at us. And so that made it really difficult to hire and scale.
I
And
believe it.
so ultimately, that's where the transition from the agency into software and Spiffy really came about. Was like, this isn't sustainable to
Mhm.
do this long term. And so there's about a 2-year transition period before we could go into Spiffy full time. We didn't take a dollar a dollar of salary of income out of the revenue from Spiffy. We just reinvested the profits. So we hired as soon as we hit like $3,000 a month, we hired our first developer part time. I think that's one big misconception when it comes to
Mhm.
hiring team, is that you have to hire someone full time. It's a little bit more common now with like freelancers and Fiverr and freelancer, but I still think there's a residue of this expectation that in order to have good people join your team, you have to be able to pay them top dollar. One of my biggest realizations as a founder and a leader is that there's a lot of people that value almost everything other than money, right? And so that's also, as an entrepreneur, we're following this mission and we want to have this impact, and we want to make money too. But there's a lot of people where like they just want to build cool stuff with cool people, and either the money aspects are already taken care of for them, or they just have a very simple life. They don't have a need for a lot of material things, and they just want to like enjoy the work that they do. And so there's other forms of compensation outside of financial compensation. Again, you need to pay them enough to like have a living wage, but
Yeah.
finding good people is very challenging. And the biggest takeaway is often your initial tendency is to look to hire talented people that have a specific skill set.
Okay.
But it's really more so about the attitude and the willingness to learn and the willingness to grow that we look for when we're hiring. We had our very first developer. He was with us for a couple of years, but he was kind of a lone wolf. He's really, really talented, but he never asked for help. He never, was not collaborative, and it was like really, really hard to let him go because he was really, really good. But it was he was a burden to the culture of the rest of the team. And as soon as we let him go, even though he was really talented, this huge like it was a massive energy shift on the team. Like
Really?
everyone felt a sense of relief. And so you just don't know how much of an impact the wrong hire is having, not just on you, but like on the rest of the team too. So hiring the right people, making sure they're a culture fit, making sure that they are growth oriented and they have the right attitude is way more important than the actual skill set.
Yeah.
And just building a business where you don't need crazy talented, you know, the anti Elon Musk, the anti SpaceX. You don't need to hire rocket scientists to deliver on your service. Like that's like the beauty of franchises, right? Like franchises are an avenue of becoming a business owner where you're buying a system that really anybody can be plug and play into that system and implement. And so how can you take that same mentality to your own business, even if it's not a brick and mortar concept?
Mhm. Lots of good stuff, man. I was expecting it to be good. I didn't know it was going to be this good. This jam-packed with like just like takeaways that you can just go implement. Has it, I don't know if I've ever asked this question to anybody on the podcast before. At any point or today, as we're sitting here now, is it kind of cool for you to look back and say, here's what I've done. I know you've done it with people. I understand you've had ups and downs. I understand all that. But like, is it cool to see that you're doing better than some of the IMDs from back in the day now? Is it kind of cool? Do you ever
I
think
mean,
about that?
honestly, no.
No?
And I don't really like I haven't really stayed in touch. I've been like pretty shoot, man, being the pioneer in social media, living and breathing it for 4 years, like literally 18 hours a day. I got so burnt out on social media. I've only like really made a resurgence back on social media probably within the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. I've kind of like checked in here or there, but I just really haven't, yeah, I haven't really kept tabs on people. But you know, I constantly remind myself like the problems I have today are the ones I prayed about,
That's fun.
10 years ago, right? And
Yeah.
so while I feel like I have accomplished some things, like I also feel like I'm just getting started in a lot of ways, and I've produced a lot of results for other people. And going back to my story of like building the skill set to someday do it for myself, like I'm at that stage of my journey now where I had to overcome my own limiting beliefs of being seen, of being heard, of stepping into my next level of leadership, of responsibility, of wealth and abundance. And so while you can build the skill set, there's also like the very human aspect of stepping out into the limelight, leading and making that shift from being quite comfortable. Like, am I in the dream house I want to have currently? No, but I have like a really good life. I have passive income, and I didn't have to step out and do these things from a financial perspective. But from a deeper soul mission, calling, and purpose, I had to. And so having that eat away at you for year after year after year, and all of a sudden you're like, it doesn't make any sense. Like I don't have to do it, but I need to do it. And so yeah, just to answer your question specifically, like I am proud of where I'm at. It took me a lot longer to get to where I'm at than I anticipated or desired, but the journey has been really, really powerful. And I also feel like I'm just getting started.
Yeah. I believe that. I believe that. Well, I'm excited for you. It's cool to see you back on social media. I've taken some time off, like not being on much the last probably 4 or so years, probably like 90% less than I was previous to that time. And I've really enjoyed my time being off social media. But it's cool to see you on making the posts that you make. I mean, dude, your copy's so good. See you speaking all over. It's just really good stuff. It's like stuff that you want to read. And I think that's harder and harder nowadays for anybody who want to pay attention to anything. Not want to pay attention to. It's just hard to pay attention to because there's so much other thing things that are trying to pull your attention. So you've done that for me, which I would say is not easy to do. Not that I'm some, guy, but it's cool stuff to watch. Um,
Thanks, man.
yeah.
I have a funny story around that too. So copywriting was one of those skill sets that I've been like hammering on my craft for a long time. And I was writing copy for Brendan as I was learning.
Oh.
And I get this email from Brendan saying like it was a very short email. Who wrote this email? And I was like, like, what do I do? Like, do I just not respond to it? Like, because it was like, it was literally those 4 words, 5 words. Who wrote this email? And I just like, all right, I'm just gonna lean into this. I was like, hey, it was me. Like I wrote the email, and the response back was, "This is an amazing email. Like this is so incredible." And so Brendan's a world-class copywriter. He's
Yes, he
so
is.
good with his messaging, and so to have that validation early on, while I was hammering on my craft was really impactful. And like Brendan probably doesn't even remember that moment or whatnot, but I have that
Mm.
email screenshotted somewhere. And yeah, so like those skill sets, and if I could leave listeners with a piece of advice is like whatever your vision is, whatever your mission is, the value you want to create, the impact you want to create, like and I learned this from Brendan, like what are the 5 skill sets that you need to learn in order to bring that vision to life?
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean that you need to do those 5 things forever, but those 5 critical components you need to know pretty well so that you are able to hire the right people in the future.
What are those five, if I could ask? Do you have them off the top of your head or roughly?
I mean, for me, it's sales, marketing, more so like the tactics of marketing, messaging, brand, and then technology.
Okay.
So yeah, those are the 5 for me. I mean, part of marketing in my lane and how I think about it too is like being able to verbally communicate a message, being able to speak on stage, being able to get in front of an audience, have that message be delivered. So there's a couple different facets to it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm attempting to bring this in for a landing, but I'm like, oh, I need to ask this question, I need to ask that question. But we're gonna bring this thing in for a landing. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
Are you still based in Arizona?
Yep. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay. Fantastic. Where can people find you online with what you're doing now if they wanted to see what you're up to, whether that's social media, whether that's websites, whatever it is?
Yeah, if you want to check out the work and what we're up to, personalbrand.com and spiffy.co are our 2 websites. And then if you want to connect with me personally, I'm Michael R. Hunter across all platforms, at Michael R. Hunter on Instagram, Michael R. Hunter on LinkedIn, and on X at Michael R. Hunter. So yeah, connect with me, reach out to me. Would love to hear and connect with other people from the WorldVentures family. I know I made a lot of connections and great relationships and great memories and experiences with a lot of people probably listening in. And so, yeah, thank you so much for hearing what I'm up to these days, and would love to connect with you. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you so much for being on and sharing all that you shared. It's been cool. It's been really cool to see. Um, and man, I look forward to you and I continuing this conversation and just seeing how things progress for you because I do believe that you're just getting started. So, Michael R. Hunter, thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.